Hi everyone, welcome to Femme Futch
with Rhi Rhi and Helen. I'm Helen and this is Rhi
Rhi. And now we're back with episode 3.
I'm the Futch of the podcast.
Yeah,
Rhi Rhi is the
femme.
femme. And in our last episode we talked all about labels of lesbians, so we kind of explained them in more detail.
Yeah, and review the different labels there are.
Yeah. I'm Helen, and I am very much a cis white lesbian woman, and currently this week I am wearing the infamous beanie. For those of you who are not watching,
yes, she's finally got the beanie. It's finally here.
It's an awesome beanie actually. I got it in Germany in a place called Hamburg. It actually is. It's a good friend of both of ours, Mark. He is a massive fan of this football team, St. Pauli. Now they are anti-fascist football team from Hamburg in Germany. Bit of a cult following, and visited the St. Pauli region in Hamburg when we were there on tour, and it was cool. So it's like a little grey and white tie-dye beanie. I'm loving it.
Little logo on it.
Little logo with a skull and crossbones, which is fab.
T-shirt.
T-shirt. So it's not a slogan, but it's a very much a death metal T-shirt for this week. It actually looks like a death metal logo, but it says the National Health Service, and then it says NHS down the arm. I don't know if you can see that. But I love this T-shirt, and I bought it because a friend of mine created them and it was raising money for suicide prevention charity, and it's that was a charity that was kind of I felt I'd love to donate to, and obviously I love the T-shirt. It very much fits in with my metal vibe.
Yeah.
So
style.
And it's quite like some people can read it, some people can't.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I feel like I'm incognito kind of going in, and
it's like incognito political.
Yes, love that. So what are you wearing today? Who are you, Rhi? Describe yourself.
I'm Rhiannon, also a cis white lesbian as well. Today I've got my hair up. Still pink, always pink. I've got a little
great earrings as well.
Oh yeah, my little heart earrings today. Got a little shirt, little crop top, some jeans today as well. Little shiny belt.
Again, bring the pastels, and I'm bringing the kind of the
pink.
Darker blacks and
light and dark.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like how it's like light and dark, and then the personalities. It's probably like a bit flipped. We'd be like the Wednesday and Enid.
Yes, of course. I love that series.
Yeah. Also going to put at the start this time, because we keep forgetting about it, please follow us on Instagram, on TikTok. You can send us an email at
femmefutchpodcast@gmail.com. So get in touch if you've got any questions.
Yeah. If there's anything you want us to talk about, any topics you want discussed. You want to hear our opinions on something, if you don't, then we're going to say it anyway.
Like zombies, politics, lesbianism, the straights, we cover it all.
We have an opinion on everything. I definitely do anyway.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, I can't believe it, like episode 3, it's officially a series now.
I know, we've done it.
Yeah. No, it feels good. It's been really fun, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's been nice to spend more time together, as always. But yeah.
So, can you introduce what the theme is of this today's podcast?
So today, we're just going to talk about things that we've learned, sort of like in our 20s, sort of late 20s, almost like little life lessons, things we wish people had told us when we were in our early 20s, and like things we've learned over the years, like how to live a happier life.
Yeah. And before we get into that, we've still got our Rhi Rhi's Rage section. I just realised we've got a new segment and completely forgot about it.
Yeah. But so we're gonna have Rhi Rhi's Rage every week. Something that has annoyed us this week. Mine this week. I work in hospitality. I work at a pub, and I had a customer that was just unnecessarily rude and swore at me the other day.
There's no need.
So mine's just don't be rude to your server. Like if you're going out to a bar, to a restaurant or something, just don't be rude to your server. There's like people don't need to be sworn at. It's unnecessary. Please be nice.
I think
it's a hard job.
Like in the first episode actually I was wearing that denim jacket and I have 2 little pins and one of them is a little heart and it says don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And then I've got another little cactus that says don't be a prick.
Yeah.
I mean I think they're like
good life lessons. There we are.
Life lessons.
Podcast done. Don't be a prick.
What, 5 minutes in? Yeah.
That's That's it, guys. See you next week.
Bye. No. I think that's just such basic.
Yeah.
And it speaks volumes about who they are as a person, and particularly like being a man.
We always say, you can tell when people haven't worked in service of any kind before, because they just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't know how to behave.
But just even if you haven't worked in service, I just don't feel like it should be something that you need experience to just then not treat people like
with respect.
Yeah, not treat people with any respect at all. And like, you're there to do a job. It's not necessarily your fault. Maybe something is your fault though. But it's still
just because it's your fault, it doesn't mean you
be nice about it. Yeah,
verbal abuse
exactly
in your workplace. No,
not at all. I'm sorry you received that. Just it really sucks. You've probably got so many stories.
No, should not happen.
You should not be.
Don't be rude to your server.
No. So my Rhi's rage. Again, not. I don't know. Last week it was more of an annoyance. This one, not a rage, but like, it happened to myself and my housemate Vicky. So we got something through the door, and I thought, ooh, this is exciting, because it was a white envelope, and in the envelope, on the envelope, it just said, "You are invited." ... And it was amongst a load of other things, and I was like, oh, yes, the neighbours inviting us.
House party,
anything.
Really exclusive event. Where are we off?
I literally thought that, and because I was in a rush anyway, I just grabbed the post and I handed it to my mate, and I just said, there's an exciting envelope there. Let me know what it says. And I got in the car, and then I messaged them afterwards. I was like, what were we invited to?
Yeah.
The Kingdom of Heaven. I mean, I don't think I am. Like, if they knew me.
From what we've read, probably not going to be there.
I mean, I know, I don't think so. I mean, the party's down in hell anyway, so like they're clearly inviting us to the wrong party. But oh god, we were just so ready for it to be a kind of invitation to like a party, and even just like come round for some drinks. I've just moved in across the road or whatever. And no, it was a very disappointing Jehovah's Witness invitation. So that was my rage. We always love a religion rage.
It's so weird though, isn't it? Because someone's literally walked up to your door and hand posted this.
Yeah.
Like, in what world, like, do you think you have the right to try and like invade people's homes with your religious views?
I know,
and like alone at home. If we want it, we'll search for it.
But also the effort.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway, that was disappointing.
Maybe they need to try the internet.
I mean, maybe, but then that would be like an unsolicited dick pic. We just don't want.
Yeah, but then I suppose. Well, not as in like messaging people on the internet.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you meant.
Why don't they start a podcast then? If people watch it, they can watch if they want, or not if they don't want to. Just don't come round to our house.
I don't think.
And they when we used to live in Leeds, we used to have them come round and knock on the door. Like, go away. Yeah. Leave me alone. I'm trying to go to work. Like, I'm trying to relax. Please don't come round. I've not invited you.
Yeah. No, it's not good. And I actually read a really good book about a guy who's so it's fiction, but I believe it is based on his life, and it's by the book is called Rainbow Milk by Paul Mendes, and he is a black boy growing up in black country, so that's Wolverhampton way, like Birmingham way, and his family is part of Jehovah's Witness, and he comes out and they just completely ostracise him and denounce him, kick him out, and he moves to London, and it's all about his life in London. But it's just like the treatment of that religion, and a lot of, not all Christians, but like a lot of religious and Christian people, they preach all about this love, and yet they
love and forgiveness, and like treating people with respect, and like love your neighbour and all of this sort of thing, but only if you fit in a little box.
It's a tiny little box. So actually that brings us nicely on to our topic about not fitting in boxes and what we've learnt from our life lessons growing up. So fitting into boxes, I think this really ties in with what we wanted to make this podcast all about today, which was talking about life lessons that we've learned as we've grown up and as we've gone through our 20s, and obviously our different coming out journeys, and where we are now, both being in our 30s. And yeah, where should we start? Where do you want to start with? What was the biggest thing for you that you feel like you've, like, turning 30, you were worried about, or like, I don't know, because I personally had a big thing.
Yeah.
30 was like this huge number.
It's turning 30 is scary, like so scary. And I think like so many people find it scary as well. Like I was talking to my friend Tess, and her birthday is literally a month before mine as well. So she was like panicking about turning 30, and then I was panicking about turning 30, and there's just so much pressure built up. Like it's just an age, and just because it like ends in an O, and it's like the start of a new decade for yourself, and it's just so, it seems so scary when it's not. Like 30's not even like middle age.
It's not at all.
It's just
but
like another societal pressure that is put on us. And turning 30 isn't scary, but when you're 29 and you're about to turn 30, it feels really, really scary.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, like, because as we've spoken about before, like, time is such a construct. It's made up, and you know, like all these kind of arbitrary targets of, like, you know, like a new year, new me, and it's like, no, it's just a different day. It doesn't mean it's a new year, and you don't have to have this pressure.
A date. It's a date, which is like a number on a piece of paper or wherever it is, but it's just a date. And then by extension of that, it's like turning 30, it is just another day. And I personally don't feel much different. And I actually thought I was going to be like, oh, I'm that person. I'm no longer be wearing leggings or band t-shirts or beanies. Like it's almost like when you're in your 20s, you get told you're an adult, but you don't think you're an adult. And then when you reach 30, you're like, oh my God, like I am an adult now.
Why don't I have my life together?
Yeah. And there's just so much pressure. And we were saying earlier, like there's sort of like a timeline. You're sort of forced to believe that there's a timeline that when you're at this age you should have achieved this much by this age, and it's not true at all. No. And that's why people get scared, and that's why people get worried about getting older, because we're told that the older you are, the wiser you are, and the more you'll have your life together. Which isn't necessarily true.
It's not. And I think the problem with being a woman, and you know, we do have those kind of like those ticking time bombs that about having kids, and
biologically,
like the biological time things, which really like isn't actually as like, there isn't much of a ticking time bomb as people say. Like they say like, oh, by the time you've hit 30 you better have had your kids and stuff, and it's just like, well, my mum had me when she was 33. I know mums that are in like their 40s, you know, like you can have kids at any age. Obviously it's going to be, maybe your body's going to struggle more, but like there's that pressure that, well, I personally thought I had to, by 30, I had to have my career sorted, I have to have a house,
like when you
long-term partner, and then kids in the next 4 years.
Like when you're in high school and someone says to you like, oh, where are you going to be at 25, like in 10 years time before you're leaving high school?
Yeah.
If you'd asked me that when I was 15, I would have been like, oh, I'll like have a good job, and like I'll be married, like with kids, and like in a nice house. Like,
I mean, I mean, some of that's there, like the nice house, but like...
I've got a nice house. I've got dog children.
Yeah, and a good job as well.
Job, yeah.
Like, that's... I don't know, I think it's just... You kind of... Yeah, you're always... The whole societal pressures that are kind of like... I think everyone's feeling it as well, which is weird, because I'd never really spoken to anyone about it, and I remember briefly being like, oh God, well, 30 is such a big turning point for me. And I like came out just before my 30th birthday. I bought the best piece of clothing I've ever owned, which will feature on the podcast one time. And I just adore it, because I was like, actually, you know, I'm doing something for me, and who cares? I love this. It brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
I really want to have this in my life, to own this, and to like treat myself. And I've never really done that. I've never been kind of like extravagant on something like clothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it just felt so right. And I don't know, and I turned 30 and was very stressed. There was a lot of stuff going on around my 30th, but it I don't know, it just...
If you took away all of the like societal pressures that you like think you should have achieved by this age, you would have been so much less stressed in your life.
Yeah.
You would have just had ordinary life stress. It's just another birthday and then everything else is happening. But it was like, this is happening and you're going to be 30.
I know. And like, now I'm 31 going on 32, I'm like, and?
Yeah, I know.
And what?
Yeah. Like, I think I've been so much more relaxed since I've been 30. Because I just don't care as much, but in a good way.
I mean, that's just... I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned in my... sort of in my 20s. It's just... I stopped... The older I got, the more I stopped caring.
Yeah.
And the more I was
about
like...
things that don't matter. And that's also something I wanted to say as well. Like, there's... When you're younger and, like, you just care so much about what people think of you. And if you actually get down to, like, the nitty-gritty of it and what other people think, unless it's someone that you respect and love, or they pay your bills, it literally does not matter what someone thinks of you. So just stop worrying about it.
And I think ultimately, like, if you're not hurting anyone, then
and
you should express yourself how you want to express, and you know, whether that's style or you're kind of like what you do in life. And I don't know, I just there's that book, like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's just, I haven't read it, but like I just feel like it changes everything. It just it really really like relieves that kind of that pressure. That like it just comes off, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't care, I'm gonna go do that because why not? I can.
You've got to live your life.
You do. And you know what I came up with? I saw it online somewhere, a great phrase about kind of like so many more women getting to their kind of 30s and be like, actually, I don't want kids. I'm okay with that. And ultimately it was pets are the new kids and plants are the new pets. I mean, I'm definitely a plant lesbian. I have so many. I have a jungle.
I just can't keep plants alive. They just don't like me. Got my orchid.
You're doing
amazingly. I can only do
well.
orchids. I don't know why. Orchids are supposed to be really hard, but mine just grow and I just barely do anything to them.
You're the orchid whisperer. Stay alive. But see, like, you're treating your plants more like with more care, and I think people sometimes are talking about their pets as like their babies, which like
my kids,
your kids,
my pets are my kids.
They're your kids, though.
I refer to them as my children, my girls.
Exactly. Just walking the girls. Love it.
I call it my mum and dad, their grandparents.
Yeah. That's what Vicky does with Albert. Like, he's like, oh, should we go see Nanny and Granddad? And he is their favourite grandson. But I just love that phrase, because I think it's like a real shift in the fact that, like, you know, only a few of us can afford to buy houses, and the people who are getting houses are helped out by their parents. Like, luckily, like, I was I'm in an incredibly privileged position that I can buy a house, but that's through the help of my parents and through the help of a relative dying, which is a really horrible situation to be in. But like, you know, people are striving for houses. The cost of living is so great. Like, people can't afford to have kids as well, and you know, even having a dog or more than one dog is expensive.
Like, dog care is expensive. So like, I can't even imagine like the cost of children. Like, that's not
exactly. And I think, well, if I'd known back in my 20s, the beginning of my 20s, I didn't have to fit that narrative or I might have come out sooner as well. One big thing for me is self-care. And I just feel like just being nicer to yourself.
Oh, definitely. Like, self-care is one of the most important things, and I think we're just brought up where we're taught to put everyone else first, that we shouldn't, like, our own priorities or taking our own health and well-being as the most important thing is seen as selfish. And I just don't understand why. Like, if you can't look after yourself, how are you supposed to look after anyone else? And like
the drag race we pull, you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Exactly. So, but in the same respect, like, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after other people. Like, if you don't respect yourself,
you're not going to have that
anything
completely, and you're not going to have that confidence to then actually sort of put yourself out there as well, because I think it's a particularly a women thing.
Definitely.
Kind of you know, we're brought up to be
selfless.
Yeah, selfless, exactly, and never to put ourselves first, and to always be the ones.
Selfish is bad. Yeah, but it's not. Like, you should be selfish. Like,
exactly, and it's just, and it's not even being selfish. It's like, it's kind of like moving your priorities around, and prioritising yourself, and making sure your needs are met first, so then your cup is full and you can give to everybody else. Because it's just, I don't know, I used to be such a people pleaser, and I know a lot of people are, a lot of women in particular. You're just brought up to make sure, like, to keep everyone happy, to always have a smile on your face.
Not say the wrong thing, like, don't say that because it might upset someone. And it's like, well, if what I'm saying, I'm bringing it forward because I'm getting hurt or upset by something, like, I have the right to bring it up. Like, I deserve self-respect, and respect from other people. And it's like, why?
And actually, that just reminds me about, like, the Me Too movement in, like, 2017, and how, like, it was a pivotal moment where women were like, actually, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I'm not going to be this people pleaser, and I'm not going to keep these men happy to advance my career when I'm being attacked or I'm being assaulted and used. Yeah, exactly, or just treated really badly. And it's just, that self-care is just so important, and
like self-preservation as well. Like, you should, if you're in a position where you need to take yourself away from something to protect yourself, like, you should be able to do that, and to not feel bad about it.
I think with your career as well, like, with jobs, you need to, I don't know, I'm so bad at saying this, but I'm just taking some time off, and I'm trying to, being self-employed as well, like, I'm always, like, striving for the next thing, and purposely this year I was like, actually, I'm going to take a little bit step back. I'm doing okay, and I've got contacts and stuff, so I'm actually going to take some time off, because I'll be better and I'll be able to work harder, or, you know, I'll be in a better mindset for working when I do get back to work, and it won't burn me out, and it won't stress me out. And, you know, burnout and stress is just,
it comes back to the are you working to live or living to work as well, doesn't it? Like, if your job doesn't feed into your life in a positive way, like, your job is for an income. If you do happen to enjoy the job or career that you're in, then that's great. Like, that's a good thing. But, like, your job is your income, and as long as that allows you to live the life that you want to live, then that's all it has to be. Like, I've worked some jobs, like, especially during my 20s as well, where it's just reached a point where I'm so overworked, so underpaid for the job that I'm doing, and, like, there's been points where I've been, like, physically and mentally really unwell because of a job, and no job is worth that at
literally
all.
Zero.
Like, no job is worth your health.
You cannot sacrifice
physical
that,
or mental. So,
especially for someone else's, like, life,
for
someone
else's profit,
you know. And that's just, I think that's key. You cannot sacrifice your physical and your mental health. That's what you've got, and, you know, it's very easy to break you down, and then it's really, really hard to recover. And that recovery takes so much longer than the damage in the first place.
You look back on it and think, well, what did I get out of that? Like, and it's all just negative, what you get out from it, apart from the experience of learning not to do it again.
But, like, why should we? I don't know, I think that's probably some of the biggest advice.
This is why we're doing it. We've been through things, so if people listen to this and they learn from it, and then don't allow themselves to be put in that position, then good. You can learn from our mistakes. Please do.
What was it, Gen Z? I think Gen Z is that they're becoming they are taking on that mindset. I feel like they've got a better work attitude, where they're like, no, I'm not going to do that because that doesn't serve me.
It's almost like a knowing your worth sort of thing.
I think there's definitely, you have to find that balance, because you do, if you, like, pursuing a career and so there's some jobs where you do need to put in more effort just to get a little bit ahead, but again, it's just finding that balance of not sacrificing yourself to then working hard at your job and putting in, but I don't know. I think
there's always going to be jobs that are sort of very hard and, like, involve a lot of time and, like, physical effort as well, and, like, people might put a lot more effort in if it's, like, a really specific career and these sorts of things. But when it reaches a point where you're, like, not getting paid or recognised for the work that you're doing, then it's not worth it. If it's taking time away from other things you want to do in your life, and I don't mean like I've got a job and I can't go on holiday 10 times a year. Like, if you haven't been on holiday for 5 years and you really want to, like, maybe consider, is this the right job for me? Like, do I want to have a job where I can actually spend the hard-earned money I work for, like, on treating myself? Because you deserve that, and you should be able to do that. Like, if you're not seeing family and friends, like, when you want to be, if you're not spending time with, like, if you have kids or pets, like, if you don't get to spend any time with them, like, just think about your job as it's something that should enrich your life, not decrease the standard that you live.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I keep coming back to privilege and talking about privilege, because that is obviously it's a privileged position to be in if you can have the luxury of choosing that job and choosing where you can work or where you want to work, or how, and your hours, and the stuff that you want to do. Because I honestly, I was just thinking when you were saying that, like, I don't know how people do it when having a full-time job, raising kids, keeping a house clean, actually cooking like decent food and stuff. It's the kind of productivity, and like, and you know, like, God forbid, actually having a social life or having hobbies, like and washing, you know, like that's those major things. And sometime in there you got to sleep. It's just kind of like, hang on, we've only got a certain amount of hours.
You've only got so much energy you can use.
You need to prioritise the stuff that brings you joy. And I think that extends to people as well, like, because you can, I feel like in your 20s you've gone through 2 decades of going to school, like you've got your primary school, secondary school, like, and then A levels at college or sixth form, and then uni, and you are surrounded by so many people, like you have massive groups of friends, and then it does tail off, and like you kind of, people will move away and you're no longer in the same cities, and like us, for example, we were at uni and now we're in different cities like an hour apart, and you have to put effort into the friendships that you value and you really want to keep sort of life.
It's that whole like phrase of like you can have 100 friends that you don't really know, or you could have one friend that knows you really well. Like, now that we're older, we have like fewer friends, not in like a nasty way, but the friends that we do have, it's more like quality friendships. Like, it's the quality of it. Like, we have more in-depth relationships.
100%.
Which mean more to us.
And I think, exactly, they mean more to us, and like they're more important to us because they do more. And, you know, you can have people in your life that maybe were friends, but they actually are quite draining on you. And, but then you have people who kind of fill your cup and, actually energise you and make you want to, like, you have great conversations, or you like do hobbies, like we're doing this podcast. And you just have, like, you have great, like, memories with them and have a great time with them. And I just think that's a part of self-care in a way.
Like, having friends that support you and you can support them as well.
Having a good network that you can rely on is, and you don't have to have that pressure of keeping up with everybody. Some people will just drift apart.
That is like the biggest thing. Or like something that I would say as well, it's like a general thing, but saying sorry. We always say sorry for so many things. Like, us as women, we apologise for too much. Like, we'll show an emotion that isn't considered like a positive one, and we say sorry. Like, if we cry, we apologise for crying. No, why? If you feel that way, cry. It's fine.
Cry is such a good release.
You're allowed to cry. Like, you're feeling this way because you feel that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. You don't need to apologise. If we text each other and we don't reply for 7 weeks because we're busy, fine.
I'm so attacked.
Not you.
I mean, me. Me. I'm so bad at texting.
Yeah, but you're
I apologise.
Like,
I love you all, my friends.
But you have a life. Like, there's so many things you're doing in your life, and just because you don't text everyone back instantly, like, you don't have to apologise for that, because you're living your life and there's other things to do. Like, your friends are not going to like you less because you've not replied straight away. Like, if we all had friendships where the only way that we could be friends if you're in constant contact with each other and replied straight away, None of us will get anything done.
I mean, I don't, like, it's nothing personal to anyone. Like, I do it with my partner.
You're busy.
I don't have my phone in my hand all the time.
No.
It goes, like, you know, on my bed or something. I lose it all the time. And Sarah will have sent me gifts of tumbleweed. Or they will be like...
Sarah, you're bringing the shade.
But I calling me out, and like I'm here for it because it is funny, and I don't mean to. Sometimes I'll read a message and then I'll forget, like I will reply in my head. I always do, and then I don't type it, or I'll start typing it. I've done that exactly
when we were getting ready. Like I was straightening my hair, and then I was texting Laura, and then I was like, "Oh, did I send that message?" And I open it, and I'm like halfway through the message. I'm like, "Oh, finish that message and I send." But like, you don't need to apologise for being late, for texting back late. It's fine. We all do it. It's normal. Life lesson. There you are. Like, we're all busy.
I think it's a kind of managing expectations, and like, as some people do text back instantly, and that's their form of communication. Yeah. And obviously some people don't, like myself. But it's just managing that communication and making sure you're kind of like, highlighting it. I don't know.
I've got a friend, one of my friends of mine, who like we message all the time, and I'll just like send her this, send her that, like send her a TikTok, like this or that, and it's all like stuff I don't need an instant reply. Yeah. But that's fine. And then every now and again it'll be like 3 weeks, and I'll be like, she's not read any of it or replied, so I just message her like, hope you're okay, bye.
So shout to the void.
And it's fine, like, just checking in as well, but like, she also doesn't have to reply if she doesn't want to, because I know she's there. It's fine. Aww. She's just not a big texter.
Some people aren't.
And then every now and again I get like 20 voice notes from her in a row, because that's just how she's like. She's there. She's done with the phone. She's fine.
Love that.
But no. So don't get annoyed at people if they don't text back, because they might be busy. It's not because they love you any less.
Yeah, and ultimately we're all under the same pressure of workhorse and the life and the kind of, it just, so yeah, give each other a break. I think that's the kind of thing. Slow down. And
I think that leads into the next one, which is quite nice, which is one that I've sort of over the past couple of years, like I think it was 2021, I really started talking more to like my friends and my family about sort of more important things. And so I just like sat down with my parents and said, like, what would you have liked to have learned from your friends, your peers, like maybe your family, like people who have experienced things before you? Like, what advice would you give them? And then after like speaking to my parents about that, just about like kind of a little bit boring things like money and insurance and like
important things,
and that sort of thing, I then sat down with my friends and I was like, I want us to talk more. Like, how are we feeling in life? Like, how are we getting on? How do we feel in our relationships? Like, with each other, with other people? Like, are we fulfilled? Are we satisfied with our lives? And like, how can we encourage each other to like have better lives and how to be happier? And I think it's like, if you can't have these conversations with your best friends that you trust, like, who can you have them with?
Quite.
So, and just talk to your friends, like, just sit them down and be like, look, let's not judge each other. We're not here to judge each other. Yeah. How are you? Like,
and then, but like also the how are you really? I think is a key one, because it's just like people go like, oh yeah, I'm fine. But like, come on, how are you really? Yeah. And it's just like, that's actually one thing that I never really answered honestly, or I would give out stock answers, and then, or I would hear stock answers to my friends and then not quite understand, and then be like, oh, I should have actually dug a bit deeper, because there's something not right there, or you know, stuff going on, and it's you're in that rush and of hurtling through your 20s, and I think talking, slowing down, taking a bit of time to do that is so important. I love the idea about talking more. I think it's really important. I think communication is a massive thing. In your relationships, personal and romantic, and
just all relationships really. And just like being honest as well. But I think it is really nice when you can talk to your friends about like anything and everything, like even money as well, because like money is such a like taboo subject, and if you can't talk to it to like your friends about money, then who
Yeah.
can you talk
And even
about?
like your like worries about it, like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out a bit.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
And it
Or
like
do you got
makes you
advice?
feel less alone, because they're either going to be in the same situation, or they were probably in that situation at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
So then they can give you advice about like how to help you through that situation.
Yeah.
So, because we've all been like in different positions, and so will our friends. So,
Yeah, and everyone's from a different background and a
Yeah.
different kind of and had different life experiences. Gosh, yeah, if I'd done that in my 20s,
I know. If we
things
had
would have been
like
a lot
really
smoother.
honest conversations with our
Yeah.
friends about how we actually felt. There's like, I could name so many situations where I thought, oh, if my friends had just told me about this,
Yeah.
or like told me how they felt, or I told them how I felt in
Yeah.
that situation.
And you've done that a few times with me
Yeah.
recently. I remember like you've just been like, look, I'm just going to say this because
Yeah.
I need to like get this off my chest, and I think it's important you hear my opinion as one of your closest friends. And I was like, yeah, 100% here for your opinion.
Yeah,
I'll
and
take
like-
with it what I do, but
Yeah,
like it's
and-
important to voice these things.
I don't
So-
expect you to take that and do anything with it, but if you take something from it and it helps you, then fine.
Yeah,
But like,
exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's so important, and I just as you get older, you learn that everyone's got imposter syndrome. You know, like we're all kind of like freaking out on the inside. Like, what are we doing?
yeah, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We're doing a podcast at the moment.
There we are.
Like,
But what is life?
but what is life? Well, like, but
None
like,
of
I
it is
think,
real.
yeah, you know, and like we just doing stuff because you enjoy it. Like we're doing this podcast because we enjoy it. Who knows? Like all 5 of our listeners are
Yeah.
going to enjoy it. I feel like men don't have imposter syndrome. They
No.
they feel like they're entitled to
Oh,
be
yeah.
there, and they're deserving
Yeah.
of being in their
Of anything.
positions.
And like as well,
Yeah.
like men sort of tend to have this attitude that they're deserving of things. Some of them, not all men, deserving of things even when they're not.
Yeah.
Whereas women, we're sort of in this position where we don't feel we do deserve something when we've worked really hard for
I know.
it.
And then we still say sorry.
Yeah, and we apologise. But like, if we do then actually accept it, we apologise for
Yeah.
accepting that we've got what we were working hard for. And
That reminds me, talking of men, hilarious. I will often say to any of my friends who are going for like job interviews, I say, go in there with the confidence of a mediocre white man. A mediocre, I think, is the key word.
straight white man.
A mediocre straight white man. Because the confidence that they have when they're just very average.
It's next level, isn't it?
And I think if we channeled that, we'd all be like kicking imposter syndrome, out the park, and be smashing things and smashing job interviews and just going in. I don't know, having this newfound confidence. I don't know where they get it, frankly. But well, actually, no, I do. It's like,
We say no.
we say
Years
no.
of learning.
Being like the most privileged in society is
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
Having role models at every corner of where you turn to is
Yeah.
another.
Just being accepted for no matter what you say, it's right.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we do know where we get it from. But to go with that confidence, I think if I'd known that, maybe, you know, if I tried and channeled that like in earlier job interviews, I'd have been more confident. I might have put myself forward for stuff.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I found. There's a statistic that women will apply for the job if they meet 90% or more. Often they have to meet everything on the job
every
description.
single requirement.
And they have to think about it and be like, okay, maybe I'll go for it.
You have to like psych yourself up, convince yourself that you do deserve to actually apply for it.
100%. And in the same study or whatever, I don't know where it was from, but men will go for a job and apply for a job even if they only meet half the criteria. Half. I just think that shows how much confidence they've got in themselves at being able to bullshit their way through a job interview or through a job application, whereas women are just like, oh no, I don't quite meet that. Like, I've got 2 years of experience as opposed to like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, stop it.
Got
Like,
98 on the test instead of 99. Like,
God forbid.
It's again the
yeah.
like striving to be perfect
Yeah.
when we're not, and nor is anyone else.
People pleasing. Oh, I don't want to waste their time if I
Yeah.
don't meet all the job criteria. No, like you're awesome. Like you're
Like,
most
shoot
likely
your
going to be able to do it. Like, and I think channel that mediocre white straight man energy.
But only in that sense. Only when it comes to confidence and getting what you want.
Quite.
Any other way.
Yeah, not in it. No. Who would want to be like that? Frankly, in any other respect. So I feel like this whole episode is like, it has obviously it's got the theme of like
stuff we learn,
but it's very like similar about like not caring or not like kind of just taking that time for yourself. I love the self-care element, but like what for you would you say is the biggest piece of advice you'd give your 20-year-old self, 20-year-old Rhi Rhi?
Well, other than you're a lesbian.
Oh my goodness.
I wish I could go back and tell myself to come out earlier.
I mean, same.
But we can't. So, other than that, I think just caring less what other people think, because it really doesn't matter what someone else thinks of you.
No.
And although it's hard, it feels like it's a lot of pressure when you think, oh, what will people think of me? What will people think of me?
Everyone's looking at me.
No one is. No. Like, no one cares.
Everyone's looking at themselves.
Yeah.
And they're too worried about themselves. Yeah, I think that's really...
so worried about what you're doing. So
Yeah.
as long as you're not hurting anyone and you're doing what you want to do, just be you. Stay in your lane.
But don't try and fit yourself in that stupid tiny box that they want to
break out the box.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And be a lesbian.
And be a lesbian. Only if you are.
Yeah.
You want to be.
We're not pushing the gay agenda.
What about you? 20-year-old Helen.
20-year-old Helen. Slow down. Job's not worth it.
No.
Don't put yourself through all the stress. I mean, the stuff is fun, but like it's just kind of don't always like look ahead and like I think you said we've had this conversation before, like everyone's always striving for the future and always looking ahead and being like, well, what can I do next, and I think being, as I mentioned earlier, being self-employed, I was always striving for my next job and worrying where that was coming from, and now I'm actually being like, no, I'm presently having some time off. Like next will come, and that's fine.
Every day, like taking time for yourself every day and like enjoying bits about your day.
Actually,
like every single day you can enjoy something.
Yeah. And I think I heard on a podcast that you should take 10 minutes for yourself every day, 1 hour for yourself every week, and then it was like 1 day for yourself every month, like to do a little self-care thing. And I was just like, oh, that's so lovely.
Because we do deserve that.
Yeah. And that can be like having a bath or like reading your favourite book.
Like just anything that makes you happy.
But the slowing down I think is the key thing, because I feel like my 20s just flew by. And I don't know, it was a whirlwind of a lot of drinking. And I'm choosing a lot of bad men. Not realising I was a lesbian.
Yeah.
God damn it.
For you as well.
Me as well. I mean, but then it might have been a lot of bad women. Through my 20s, but maybe we would have had the same awful relationships, but just with women instead. I don't know, maybe, who knows. But I think for me the ultimate is slowing down. Like everyone's got the imposter syndrome, you're not the only one, but the job's not worth it. No. Amazing, another episode done.
So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, follow us on all of the socials, or you can email us, and we'll see you next week.